All right, so hopefully everybody is enjoying the Teams Nation conference. I'm very fortunate and grateful to be able to provide some great tips for you today and really lead this session so you can walk away going, okay, I know how to reduce some noise. I know how to make Teams work for me. So we're going to walk through a bunch of things, but let me first get started talking about who am I? Again, I mentioned my name is Michelle Gilbert. And I do work at Microsoft, so I'm sporting my Microsoft logo today. I'm also president of the Minnesota M365 user group and our biannual admin workshop days. We meet on the second Monday of the month from 12 to 3 Central Time. The nice thing is we're virtual, so if you wanted to attend, you could go to mn365.org and take a look at all of our events. We also have a YouTube channel where we record every event, so you could go and check us out there. I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect and reach out, follow me. My Twitter handle is Michelle's Utopia. So that's me dreaming about what this world could be like, which is reducing how complex and how chaotic it can be. I am a former Microsoft MVP. Earlier in the last session, Matt Wade, who talked about being an MVP, basically you get a voice into how the features are rolled out, how the features may be affecting people, and be able to communicate that back. So it was something that was very much a proud moment for me to be able to get. I'm also, and had been in the past, an O365 solution architect. So my entire career has been in SharePoint as an admin, as a developer, as a designer, and then of course, as it progressed, a global administrator. So I really know quite a bit on the technical side, but today I want to focus on productivity to show you some tips that I personally do that help me. They're not really necessarily the guided Microsoft way to do it, but things that I've learned along the way. Now celebrating 4 or 5 days ago that Microsoft Teams is 5 years old, so happy birthday to Teams. But as you know, you can get invited to a lot of different teams and have a lot of noise, so I will walk through that. And of course, as you can see, I'm a community speaker. So today is really around improving your personal productivity in Teams. We are going to focus on some of the top 10 ways that have worked for me to really achieve that personal productivity, really helping and how I've helped myself be more effective, but also how I can teach that for you. So let's take a look. All right, so I'm going to walk through what we have out on our Microsoft website in terms of how to show and hide or pin a team or even a channel in Teams. Talk about some of the best practice, really understanding what are your notifications. I think a lot of times by default, we roll out things at Microsoft that adhere to maybe 80% of people, but a lot of times people don't work that way. And so understanding those configurations, those knobs, those dials that you can change to really make it a custom setup for you. Then we're going to talk about how to mute notifications. I have a great example. Yesterday I was on a call. I had 350 people or more in it. Imagine the amount of messages that were happening there. You couldn't scroll up fast enough to even like it. And then let alone when it canceled or when it ended, all of those notifications or chats were happening and continuing to happen. So how do we make sure we are muting that? And so I will definitely show you how to do that. And then of course, pinning an app for easy access. So if there's something that you go back to, why don't you pin it? And then even more, why don't you ask your admin, hey, you know what? This is actually used by my entire department. Can you go into the Microsoft Teams Admin Center, go into those app setup policies and pin that for us so we can actually make sure it's organized in a way that works for us. And of course, changing your status in Teams, that's really important. So I will walk through a little bit of how to do that with being able to put in do not disturb, really understanding that will block people from overriding your focus time, which is really, really important. And then setting your status. I have a lot of customers that say, hey, where can I add if I'm going to move or change into a different office? Especially now with hybrid work, we're all going back into the office at some point, or maybe we're staying at home, but maybe sometimes we are at a coffee shop and you want to let people know where you are. So you can do that right in your status, and that will appear for people. We are also going to talk about how to pop out a chat. So if you want to go ahead and I can show you how you can pop out that chat so you can have very one-on-one focused conversations. And then, of course, protecting your time. Now with the advent of Viva Insights, formerly known as My Analytics, it is your application for creating your work-life balance inside of Teams. So going in there, actually putting together a calendar of scheduling focused time that it is reading your Outlook calendar and knows when you have block time that you could set where people cannot disturb you. So really great, as well as how to have a virtual commute. This is something that I use almost every day. It helps me shut down. It helps me unwind. And then if you have not heard, you can make all of your events or your meetings shorter automatically. So if your company has not set this as a global wide default policy, you can do this yourself. So we will take a look at where that's located. All right, so a lot of this is going to be demo and showing you how we have documented all of this in Microsoft documents. Let's get into the demo. All right, so I'm going to first start off with one of the top ones, which is show, hide, or pin a team or a channel in Teams. So you will get access to all of these links. I'll throw them in the chat after when I go ahead and bring back the slide deck that does have the survey. So being able to show a team or a channel is really as simple as the most probably famous way to get to more options inside of really throughout Office 365, which is through the three dots, or you would say the ellipsis. But clicking as you are in Teams and clicking on seeing the team, clicking on those three dots, you get a set of different things that you can do. The first one here is you can say you want to show it. You can also leave the team, so realizing that you don't have to always stay in the team. So how to reduce the noise and really realize I haven't been in this in a year. Why don't I hide it? And really being able to only show things that really matter to you. So you can go ahead, you can hide it here, and then of course you can show it. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So now I'm in my Teams environment. I'm going over to Teams. And as you can see here, I've got quite a bit of Teams and I've got a lot of noise. How can I make sure things that I don't really necessarily need to be a part of anymore, but I don't really want to leave it? That's kind of a determination up to you. But if you think of maybe you were part of a rebrand project for your intranet and you've already launched it, do you want to get rid of it or do you want to still have access to that information? Making sure that you know, kind of making that decision throughout going down the list and going, you know what, I don't need to be a part of accounting. They brought me in. I'm not even in accounting. They brought me in because they had some files that they wanted to share with me. So here, like I said, in the more options, you can click on that and you can get a series of decisions that you might want to make. The first one being, I want to hide this. So where did it go? Well, if you scroll down, you now see hidden teams. So you have active teams and you have hidden teams. And the nice thing is it collapses by default. So if you want to put a bunch of them in there and still have the nice real estate, the nice scroll bar that's a lot shorter, you can do that. So that is one way that I think quickly get ramped up. But I'm going to do some more because there's a lot of noise. Teams demo, I don't need that anymore. The intranet rebuild, like I just talked about, we're actually done with that, but I still want that for some back history. I may want to refer to it I may need to look back at a file or an app that we were using to plan for, the different tasks that we were doing. So I'll go ahead and hide that. So as you can see, that's actually helping make my scroll bar a lot easier to navigate through all of my different teams. And then, of course, let me get back to the next one here, which is things to know about notifications. So it's really important that I think everybody at least looks at it, makes them work for you. I think of how noisy it can be, depending on if you are getting alerted, especially in your banner. You can also get alerted on your PC. So there's just a lot of things that can be really disruptive. And there's a concept, I'm sure you probably have heard of it. It's called context switching. It means going from app to app without staying in one single pane of glass. We are really at Microsoft trying to improve that because we've been doing a lot of studies around the amount of time it may take for you to go from one to another. Well, not only that, but it's also the pop-ups that disrupt you. So if you think of really the navigation of going from Teams to out to your internet, hence bringing Viva, your intranet and Viva connections into Teams to make it easier so you're not doing that context switching is really what we're trying to do, along with putting all your third-party apps inside of Teams as well to reduce that time. But within the study, they talked about how it may take 15 to 25 minutes every single day of going out, coming back in, going out, coming back in. And when you have that type of disruption, what actually can occur is not only the time it takes for you to do that, but the mental exhaustion. So if there is a way in an application that you're using all the time, there might be some sort of integration that you can have in Teams. So start thinking about how the things that you use, the top 5 applications or the top 5 platforms that you go to, why not try to make it more seamless and integrate it to where you're working today within Microsoft Teams. But the study in that 15 to 25 minutes a day, just think of even a company the size of, 2,000 or 4,000 or 50,000. If you calculate, let's just be conservative for a moment, and let's say it's 15 minutes. Well, if you calculate 15 minutes by all of the work days and all the work hours, we probably work about 260 days out of the year, right? Maybe more or less, depending on where you're located or really what you do. But that actually equates to a week and a half of moving back and forth in an entire year. So think of the cost and the financial strain on companies by having these applications going all over the place, but even banners popping up, being dinged. Why do you have the sound of the ding? That can be distracting. We have a lot of beeps and noises that are throughout our entire life, right? We have our phone and we have alarms and we have smart devices making all this chatter. So I'm going to show you how to go ahead and walk through your notifications, reduce that, and give yourself a little bit more of a mental break and a mental focus. So this is around notification settings. In Teams, you can manage them. By default, there's certain settings that are enabled, and we can change all of that personally, which is really fantastic. So you can have your notifications be off unless you like the dings. I personally don't. It can be super distracting. And then, of course, like I mentioned, there are some default settings, receiving both desktop and active feed alerts that are when you're at mentions, and especially at mentions and channels. That can get a little overwhelming as well. So some ways that we are getting notified in Teams is through the activity feed. So if you use that, and I'll show you what that looks like, you can actually do some filtering. A lot of times that I use Teams and I start my day, I see if somebody has had a chat with me. So I go and read them, and then I'll go up to my activity feed and I'll filter on at mention. So those are my kind of order of operations. So my day is chat, then my @mention, and then I may go over to email. But I definitely don't start my day in email any longer. So I kind of see that being an evolution in companies, but it's really interesting how that's not the first mode of operation. So that's kind of neat. And then of course chat. So like I mentioned, I first start off with chat myself. And then you've got these banners. So not only are you getting dinged, you've got banners. Again, whether you're on Windows or Mac, they're in a different location, but that can be super disruptive. And they are a little bit different on mobile. So one of the first things is you can set your notifications to not be getting dinged when you're on your phone. So if you do have the Teams app, a lot in quiet hours. My quiet hours will always be 5 p.m. to 8 in the morning. So I do not want to be disturbed. That's time for my family. That's time for my friends. So important that you make sure you have your configurations set up correctly. So let's take a look. All right, so where are your notifications? They are located right by your profile picture. And you can go ahead again, the 3 dots, which means more options, or an ellipsis, and it's in settings. So I'm going to take a little moment here, and one of the top 10 things I didn't mention, but I think could be really relevant is, do you want to use the default theme? Is that too much and too much strain on your eyes? We could actually switch that and go to dark mode. So this is a lot easier for me to consume. It might even be easier for you to see. And especially if you are a trainer or you're giving any presentation and you need to show maybe your browser, or you need to show Teams, you can now use that for dark mode. It's a lot easier, I think, for viewers to consume the information, a lot easier on the eyes. And then, of course, if you haven't heard, you also have chat density. So by default, it was always comfy, but we have made it compact. So if you're somebody who really wants to get as much information possible in a shorter space, you can go ahead and use compact. All right, so now let's just run down to notifications. Like I mentioned, we roll out things by default, but you have all the opportunity to change that. So within here, do I want to see any missed activity emails? Well, if I say as soon as possible, guess what? That's a noise flag, if you will. I might want to say every 10 minutes. Maybe I don't want it at all. So you can make that determination. And you can also, for appearance and sound, do you want to play that sound? I don't, so I'm turning that off. And do you want to see the message preview? Sometimes that's nice. I kind of like that, just to get a more sense of what somebody might be pinging me about. And I kind of like to just go right into custom, because that makes it a whole lot easier. Or in my feed, or even turn things off. So here I can just say, I only want to show that in my feed for any personal @mentions, because remember what I mentioned earlier, I start my day looking at chat, and then I'll go up to my activity feed and look at @mentions. So I don't need to be that in my banner every single time. Same with team mentions. I like that in my feed. I might, depending on what I'm really working on and that is timely, I may want to have it in my banner. So you can really make that determination yourself. Reply to conversations I started. I like to, but maybe reply to conversations I reply to. It just depends on if you're having a conversation, it's relevant and you need immediate attention, then maybe you might want this. But if you think of Teams, chat, and channel conversations as it's a thread that you can go back to. And so you can really control whether you want that to be front and center for you, or, really cognitively, right? You are the one who created the thread itself. You know that you can go back to that yourself. So you don't need to be pinged for that type of information. And of course, if somebody likes something or reacts, do you want to know? A lot of times I think I see more like thumbs up after I say something, and then I say something again and thumbs up again. And do I need to really be notified? Not really. So I can just turn that off. And then all new posts will notify me every time there's a new post in this channel. Maybe, but I usually turn that off because that's too noisy itself. And then channel mentions. Like I mentioned, if I am mentioned, then I'll go up to the activity and I'll filter on that. But channel, I believe that's referring to actually at mentioning the channel. That might be important because we've trained people, hopefully we've trained them to only at mention a team when it matters, right? You don't want to be spamming people all the time by saying at team name, unless it's super relevant or urgent. All right, so those are all the things. And then of course you can always reset it back if you need to. So I'll now go back to settings, and we all have that. It's customly set. All right, let's take a look at the next one. How many times are you in a meeting? And I know especially I'm on platform community calls, I'm on champions program calls. People are nonstop texting or nonstop messaging, if you will. Well, how can we make sure that we mute that? It's almost the first thing I do. I join a meeting, I go in and mute because I don't need that noise. I'm not leaving. I can read it, but I don't need that pinging. So that's one of the things that I do almost right away, especially if it's a reoccurring call that people are always using that chat and it's every single week. It's kind of nice if I can't join it, I can just read it, but I don't have to be constantly dinged on it. So let's take a look at that. Get out of here and let's go into the meeting. The meeting noise is usually in chat. So here I don't have, this is a demo environment, little small scale here. But for instance, I could mute this group chat, just like I can mute the meeting chat. So this is where you would do it. Again, always on those three dots, the more options, and then selecting mute. So that's really how you would do it. Sometimes you may even want to hide it. I find myself that I haven't been in that meeting in a while. Yeah, it's still relevant, but I want to hide it. And I can go ahead and do that. So if you see, now it's hidden and I don't need to worry about it anymore. All right, jumping back up. Might go like that a little bit so I can open that up. All right, so pinning an app. Earlier I mentioned you might always go into the team store to use an app, but for some reason it keeps falling off your side rail. You can work with your admins, but maybe they set that side rail to have way too many apps. And now for you to pin it, you're going to have to go into the store or look it up in the little search bar and pin it yourself. So let's take a look at that. All right, so here I am. Again, here's all of the apps that my admin has set for me. Maybe they make sense, maybe they don't. And if they don't, I would definitely recommend, talking with admin to go, you know what, we always use the approvals app, or we always use shifts, for instance. Let's get that pin and let's work with our admins because they can create a policy for just your department to have a unique or curated experience. But I can go in here and I can find the app that I want. I really want Viva Insights. So I can go ahead and click on that. And then I can right click on it and I can pin. So again, it's going to run out of real estate though. So that's where you would want to work with your admin. But I have it pinned now. So I feel, okay, I've got it for a little bit until maybe I log out and go back in.
Michelle,
right, so the next one is really...
Sorry, we've got a question, Michelle.
Oh, great.
So Tanya's asked, so when you were going through the personal settings, you got the setting around where to default open files in the app, in the browser, or in the desktop client. She says when she gets a new update for Teams, it resets that and they have to go in and reset it. and doesn't seem to be a sort of a sticky setting for it. So is that something that you've seen, and is there an organizational setting to manage that, or something that she's potentially doing wrong to configure that?
Yeah, that is a great question. I have not experienced it or heard that. My default settings for my files, I always open them in Teams, and then when I want to take them out, I'll take it out. So I know this is default, but maybe if you change to browser, I think is what you're referring to, is that when you come, get an update, it'll default back to Teams. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
the way I'm reading the question. Yes, that's resetting that setting.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think there's any way to override that or in the admin center. I don't think we even have that in PowerShell. I would submit a bug. That's something I would absolutely do. So you could do that. I believe, let's see, give feedback. That's where you could tell us if you have access to that. That's where you could, tell Microsoft, hey, I tried to do this, and send it.
Yeah.
Or you can tell your admin and go ahead and submit a support ticket.
Excellent. I hope that helps, Tanya.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michelle.
Sure. Okay, changing your status in Teams. I think this is always really interesting. It's a lot what we've been used to if you were using Skype before, but people don't necessarily change it because it matches your calendar. And that's great. However, there are some times that you want to let people know, hey, you're going to be right back. You even want to maybe appear offline. I know I have some colleagues that do that all the time, and I'm like, are they there? Or are they not there? But that's one of the ways that you indication to kind of block and reach contacting you or letting them know that you're not going to be there for a little bit, and then when you come back, you can manually override that. Also, your status message. So within here, I use this a lot, and I do it for various reasons around when I'm going to be in the office. I'm going to be in the office from 8 to 3. I even have some customers that are using it for pronouns because we haven't brought in pronouns yet into Teams. And I say yep because it will be eventual. So they're looking for a place to indicate and have a location of their pronouns, so they set it in their message. I have others that are putting in their hours of work. So there's all kind of use cases for having this. And this is really, I know we're focused on more of our personal productivity, but also for us to be productive, we may want to have it communicated to everyone what your hours you might be working. So within Teams, you can certainly set that up. And let me get over here. And I can go ahead and I can set that for myself. So that's actually by clicking on yourself, you can set your status message, or you can set your status, your update. So here I can go ahead and I can peer away, which is kind of nice. If I know I'm, and then the status message, so you can actually mention people. I always find that interesting. I haven't seen anyone do it or what the use case might be, but I do like to actually put in different quotes in there. So I think that's kind of fun too. So anyway, those are the two locations to set your status, as well as kind of change what you communicate to people on, maybe what you're doing. All right, the next one, popping out a chat. I mean, I think this was the largest request when we first rolled out Teams. So if you're not doing it, do minimize that noise by minimizing the browser, minimizing Teams, and only having that chat window open. So in case you are not familiar with what that experience would look like, let me go into a chat and maybe this project team, I want to go ahead and bring it out. But of course, the pop-out is not, let's see, the pop-out does not work in the web app. So you need to be in your desktop client now that I can see that. So normally you can just right click on that. I'm going to grab my actual normal Teams environment and just show you what that looks like. Yeah. Okay, well, you're going to hopefully have to just envision what that looks like. I'm going to go back and show you how you do that. So on the left-hand side of Teams, again, it's right in those three dots of when you are looking for more options. And we talked about how you can kind of hide a team. Well, in here, you can pop out a chat. So again, more options, pop out the chat. And so that's just by hovering over it, and you can pull that out. And I guess I must have gotten myself a little mixed up. I normally live in my Teams client, not the web app. So that's going to be the difference there, is you're not going to be able to pull that out unless you're in the client. And then from the command box, so you can actually just type in pop and then select what you want to pop out. So I think that's pretty interesting too. All right, so let's talk about protect time. This is something that we announced for organizations to rethink how people are spending their time during hybrid work, going from meeting to meeting to meeting. We all do it. We're doing it today. The nice thing is the organizers of Teams Nation have given us a break, 15 minutes every hour. So it's been really great to be able to have that transition, go grab something to eat, go to the bathroom, go and stretch. But we should be doing that at work too. So we do have a couple of things that we have available, which is around scheduling focus time and then starting a virtual commute. So we want to protect our time. Here, I'm going to first start off with how to do that. Scheduling that focus time. You do that all within Outlook. So we don't have anything now today. Let's see, this one is on the protecting time. Make sure I know. There we go. Making all your events shorter automatically. So this really adheres to whether you're in Windows, Web, Mac, iOS, Android, it will apply. So this is about your calendar options. So shortening those appointments, shortening those meetings. So in here in file options, calendar options, and I'll give you these links so you don't have to memorize any of this. You can shorten those appointments. So here, you might want to end early. And I do this automatically. Right when we had this rolled out, I think last year, all of my meetings that are 30-minute normally are 25 minutes. And all of my 1-hour meetings are 50 minutes. That gives me a little bit more productivity to transition in between meetings or in between different things that I might be doing. So if you have not set this, I would definitely recommend that you set this and even talk to your admins to make a global policy. So you know, really are trying to make a better work-life balance for everyone. So if you set it there, guess what? Then you have that leader support and you have that buy-in, and it just is really better on everybody's employee and meeting experiences. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about protecting time. We had cut off there for a second. It's really important with the advent of how many meetings we have, much like I just discussed. Let's shorten the time, but let's also block our calendar. We can automatically do that now through Viva Insights. That's one of the modules in our employee experience platform called Viva. And let's see, there is a question. I'll take a look. Is shortening meetings configured in, I imagine you're talking about in Exchange? It is a global policy. So you can go ahead and set that through the global policy. All right, let's talk about focus time. I'm going to show you that because I even have my manager that says, I notice you don't use that. And I'm like, well, it wouldn't find any focus time to reserve. But I realize I need to do that. And I need to do that knowing out there in the future, I might not have a full schedule in 3 weeks. It may get full. However, it won't be overridden. So let's go and take a look at that. All right, so it is located in the Viva Insights application. So if you don't see it here, and all of you should have access as long as you are allowed the Microsoft first-party apps. That's located in the Teams Admin Center. It's by default, so hopefully everyone can get to it, but go in, look for Viva Insights, and if you don't see it, go out to the store, which is located right here in the apps section. All right, so this gives you a little, that's that pinning we did. And we want to go ahead and set focus time. So here it's actually under protect time, or you can do it right here and just have it automatically book. But I want to take a look at kind of what does this look like. This is really a great area that you can automatically through AI reads your calendar, looks ahead, and then presents you with options. So here from 3 to 5 today, I would love to be have focused work time for 2 hours today. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It also has virtual commute, which is kind of the next topic we'll talk about. So let's first book some time so you can see what that looks like. And you can remove that. So let's just say you do have a meeting that somebody needs you to be at during that book time. You can remove the slot here, or in your calendar, you can go ahead and just delete it. I mean, that's what I do. I tend to do a lot. I'm like, yes, that's okay. You can book over my focus time, sadly. And then, of course, you can see you've got, that was today. And then tomorrow I have some time. I can even see all available times, which it goes out for about 2 weeks. So I can see, oh, great, this Friday. Yes, definitely. I want 2 hours on Friday to focus. And I can make my selections here. And then on my calendar, what that looks like is actually it says book time or focus time. So right here, I made that distinction. I let it automatically book it. And now what you experience in focus time is that your status automatically changed to do not disturb. You can certainly have people override trying to connect to you during that focus time. But I absolutely love it. I don't get any noise during that time. I can put my head down. I can go learn something. I can focus on a presentation. I can really do whatever I want to do. I might even want to work out, which we should be trying to do as we're going meeting to meeting to meeting. Let's go for a walk, right? So now let me just jump back over to the virtual commute. And I believe this is one of my last time, my own personal productivity tips. This is really around how do I unwind and how to accomplish completed for the day. And guess what? The nice thing is I don't have to think about it too hard. It tells me what I might have missed. And it makes me make an action on, is this relevant still? And so I love it. And that is, again, within Viva Insights. Let that take a second. And it's under Protect Time again. So in here, I can actually put together my time slots of what I care about. Maybe my virtual commute, I don't really need to do every day, but I believe by default you do have every day. And then you're selecting your time that you are done working for the day. I actually want to be done at 4. So I'm going to set that reminder. And then what happens is I'll get reminded a little bit before, are you ready to wrap up? It's kind of a nudge. And I'm just going to start it now so you can see what that experience is. So what a day, right? What a day. This is a long day for all of you attending this session. Have a little bit of a break, right? A little commute time virtually. So I can add a task, I can do things, and then we'll go to do. I also can see different events. Oh, it looks like I hadn't responded yet. So great nudges because I'm too busy and I am trying to focus more. So I can accept this. I can also go in and I can take a look. Maybe I don't really want to be in this team meeting. So I can change that. I'm just going to cancel that altogether. So this really gives me a great summary of what I'm trying to focus on. Moving over again next, it asks me, how do I feel? This information is only for you. Viva Insights is your personal productivity tool. Your manager, your organization does not have access to. So if you want to really be honest here, maybe it might help you understand trending. Maybe you find out all the time on Monday, you're right here at this really very bad day. Maybe that means you need to do something different on Monday. Maybe you want to start at 10 a.m. instead, and you want to go out and get coffee that's really delicious than your own homegrown stuff, right? But that gives you a chance to do that, and you only see it. And then you get to unwind with a meditation. So this is really great. Just helps you for 10 minutes, do a refocus, and then you shut off your computer. Did you hear me? You have to shut off your computer at the end of the day so you can go and enjoy life. You know, I know we all have a tendency to go eat dinner and come back because you're waiting on that one email or you got to get ready for the next day. I really would advise one of the biggest, probably number one tips here is shut down. So hopefully you have learned a few things, taken away a few things today that will help you. I appreciate all of your time. I'm going to bring up the survey, and then I'm going to put the links in there if you hadn't yet known what they were, give you some guidance on how to go and find them. So thank you everyone for your time, and certainly if you have questions, throw them in the chat.